the status of Dreamers. There have been countless polls done on that one. It's 75, 78, 87%, as high as one poll, as the most recent poll. 87% support protection for the Dreamers, and the fact that there was wait a minute, 73 House Democrats that voted yes to offset more than the 67 Republicans who voted no. Boy, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me here? I thought you guys had principles. I thought you were under Nancy Pelosi. You're going to stand up for what was right and protect it. Nope. You voted for the Republican bill, the Republican quote unquote bipartisan bill. This is the most right wing budget bill that we've ever had. I mean, are you kidding me? I saw the document. I'm not surprised, but I'm still, what is going on? I try to withhold criticism here, but it's just not possible anymore. It is sad what we are doing here with our government, and we need to get out. We need to, and if you want someone to, if these guys were in Congress right now, the Justice Democrats, who are all progressive people, support your local, if you have someone progressive running, challenging your primary Democrat who's been there for 20 years or whatever, go primary them, because we need these type of people out of our government. So what you need to go is jdams.us/donate. Elect a Bernie Sanders style Congress in 2018. We're actually going to fight for you, fight for the positions you actually believe in, because guess what? They're the real American people, and they believe on those positions too, which is very cool. So I'll give you some of the people. Some of the people running here. So it's like, for example, there's Dan Cannon in Indiana. So he's like one of the people who on the lawyer team that won the gay marriage case in the Supreme Court, and he's running against one of the biggest corporate Democrats out there, who gets into Congress and just donors. I only care about donors. It's unbelievable that we are seeing that. So that we're seeing over 51 candidates taking to the streets of the Justice Democrats, with RL Vision, with other really key important organizations, and supporting the heck out of what the people want. So that is something you're going to need to vote for if you really want to get immigration in there, if you really want to get pro-policies in there. I mean, we should just have normal citizens to be able to do that, but their donors, they get on the phone with them and they say, don't shut down the market. You can't shut down the market again, shut down the government, because the markets will tank. But it's just, the markets will tank if you shut down the government. That's all I hear. So they're like, oh, you better agree with the government. Yeah, he's kind of right. Can't risk a shutdown. We had to come to an agreement here. But only shut down for 5 hours. Is that okay, sir? And the big donor goes, oh, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I'll take another $500,000 check, like Paul Ryan did, directly from the Koch brothers after he passed the tax bill. Whew. Okay. Yeah, so that is just incredible. So, respect to Rand Paul holding Republicans accountable. He says, the reason I'm here tonight is to put people on the spot. Yeah, Paul, that's right. I want to make people feel uncomfortable. I want to have them answer people at home who said, how come you're against the President Obama's deficit and you're for the Republicans' deficit? I think the country's worth a debate until 3 in the morning, frankly. He said, this is rich, coming here from John Conrad of Texas, number 2 Senate Republican. He goes, I think it's irresponsible. The act of a single senator who's trying to, this is what he described Rand Paul's actions as, the act of a single senator who's just trying to make a point, but doesn't really care about how much he inconveniences. Oh, do you want to go to bed? Are you a little bit tired? I'm sorry. Are you supposed to be a United States Senator? And you're blatantly going against the positions you stated a year ago. So I think you better stay up. Like, what, you want to go grab your little blanket and sit on the floor of the Senate and suck your little thumb? No. Like, stay up. I don't care if you're inconvenienced. Jeez. Oh my God. This is amazing here. Yeah. Wow. Whoa. This is just, are there more quotes here? Rand Paul voted for a tax bill. This is Brian Schatz, who makes a good point, that blew a $1.5 trillion hole in the budget. Now he is shutting the government down for 3 hours because of the debt. This is a chance to demonstrate fiscal discipline was on the tax bill. Delaying a vote isn't a profile in courage. It's a cleanup. It's a respectable cleanup because the Democrats more time to get their act together is something they need. Yeah. But still, Rand Paul, he's being portrayed as someone who's like, oh, going against the grain, and that's, to me, something that I definitely respect. All right, so now we continue. White House officials, they have conceded Thursday that they regretted the way they handled accusations about Rob Porter, the staff secretary who resigned on Wednesday after 2 former wives publicly accused him of abusing him, even put one posting a black eye on Facebook, but they refused to provide any information about when President Trump's most senior advisors first learned of the episodes. So Mr. Porter abruptly departed from the West Wing on Thursday afternoon, one day after John Kelly, the chief of staff, and other senior officials had issued statements defending him and say they would prefer their remains at his post. So pretty much what happened here is this is kind of all you need to know of the situation. So first, you know the situation with Rob Porter. He was accused of publicly abusing 2 wives. Two of his 2 wives, his 2 ex-wives, one of them even posted a picture of black eye that he gave her on vacation. It was really just a disgusting situation. We talked about it on the show yesterday. But still, amazingly, he was brought into work today with the wishes of John Kelly to work another day, although he has resigned and most likely won't be showing up today from the best I can understand. And pretty much what happened was, This is the all-telling CNN Chiron. John Kelly claims he was shocked by Rob Porter's abuse allegations, but in actuality, he knew. This guy knew literally for months in advance. So what the struggle is right now to find out in the White House is, what did you know and when did you know it? Yeah, really quite a crazy situation we're seeing with the that whole story with Rob Porter. There's just a lot of talk about that on TV today. Just want to get to that too quickly because I know we went a little long in the budget situation there. All right, so we now continue, and we got a very interesting story for you. The stock market. It is but this is a point that kind of had to be made here. The stock market swings pretty much tell you everything you need to know about a really rigged economy. And Karl Marx used to say, unemployed people weren't capitalism. We're capitalism's reserve army. Though he didn't invent the term, he meant that capitalism drew its strength from this army, standing at the ready to take a worker's job if the current one didn't like it. If the unemployment levels are high enough, bosses can pay lower wages and treat workers poorly. If one of them quits, there are plenty more in reserve. But if the reserve army is depleted, if the economy is at full employment and everyone who wants a job has one, then bosses can't treat workers as disposable, and they can't indulge in racism and sexism in the same way, which is kind of an interesting theory, although obviously full employment is very nice, and I would really like to see that happen. Who wouldn't? I mean, a boss who treats women or people of color poorly, refuses to hire them, is at a supreme disadvantage if there's no reserve army, there's no backup well to get from if he is ever in need of it. So, if you think back to World War II, when unemployment evaporated in order to meet the demands of the war effort, Rosie the Riveter didn't get her job as a result of a social movement on behalf of the gender equity on the factory floor. She got it because the factory needed bodies and had less abilities to indulge in their sexism. Full employment takes the power out of the hands of the bosses who use it to discriminate and give power to workers that to make demands, and if those demands are met, they have freedom to work elsewhere. That theory about unemployment in a capitalist economy is relevant to how analysts are pulling apart 2-day collapse of the stock market that began Friday and its subsequent wild swings. The Intercept reports market watchers have said that the crash was triggered by the new jobs report released Friday, showing that wages nearly a decade into the recovery have finally started beginning to rise. So now that analysts say that the Dow Jones Industrial Average went up or down for this or that reason, they're often just guessing. But what specifically moves a body as complex as the stock market is in some ways unknowable, but it is useful to explore the cause being ascribed to last week's crash, rising wages, which sounds a little bit weird. Apart from the implications for the market, what it says about our economy, which is structured, what it says about the way our economy is structured is much more profound here. So, start with a suggestion that kind of seems on its face that the market crashed because wages were seen to be rising. Anyone outside the financial system would immediately see wages going up as a good thing. After all, it's what every politician and every party says they want to happen. They just have obviously different ways of getting there. But for market analysis and analysts, it's a bad thing. It's a visible sign that inflation is around the corner. Concern about inflation was most glaring on Friday when stocks tanked after the January jobs report revealed the strongest wage gain since 2009, reported CNN Money. The immediate catalyst was the jobs report, which showed the strong United States economy might be finally translating into rising wages for American workers, a sign that higher inflation could be around the corner, offered the New York Times. And if inflation is coming, then the Federal Reserve is likely to raise interest rates to slow down the economy and cool off the inflation. When the Fed raises interest rates, bonds become more attractive, so people move from stocks to bonds on the stock market dives, and it becomes harder to borrow, so businesses and homeowners have less capital to throw around. Profits get squeezed by higher interest payments, and as interest rates rise, the value of older bonds which pay at a lower interest rate go down. So people are losing money all over the place, all because wages started to go up. It's kind of triggers a really bad situation for those people working in the economy, which is kind of sad because I'm sure they don't want to see people's wages go up, right? Wink, wink. So, everything in the structure of the economy then is geared towards making sure wages never have to rise. And for nearly half a century, the task of UN accomplished, wages have not budged since 1970. Capitalism's reserve army has its ranks bolstered by a mechanism known as the inflation target or the inflation objectives. The Fed currently sets the target at 2%, meaning that it doesn't want to see inflation higher or lower than that. What it really means is that it doesn't want to see inflation higher than that because the economy hasn't hit the 2% target in 2 years. So, in years, not just 2 years. Let's see. But the target itself has little meaning, since any little sign of wage growth is taken to mean that inflation is just around the bend. So the Fed taps the brakes to keep everything under that target. So when the Fed hits the brakes, people lose their jobs. It's kind of an unfortunate side effect of tighter monetary policy, but is the intended effect. But the 2% target argue people who want to see real full employment is too low. The Fed is throwing people out of work unnecessarily, or at least for no sound economic reason here. So that's the problem. And that we are still dealing with at this point. Political activism on the left around monetary policy doesn't have much infrastructure, but the Center for Popular Democracy, which is through a group called the Fed Up Campaign, which has begun to change that. Progress on that front could be seen in a tangible way last June when the then Fed Chair, Janet Yellen, was asked at a press conference to respond to a letter organized by Fed Up and signed by 24 economists calling for her to raise the inflation target. She opened the door to it, actually, saying, quote, "I would say that this is one of the most important questions facing monetary policy around the world. This is one of the most critical decisions, and one we're attentive to evidence and outside thinking. It's one we can reconsidering at the future time." Because the language Fed chairs use, very important, very coded. Her answer was lengthy. Her answer was very interesting. So pretty much in plain English, she said, Yellen said that decision the Fed made in 2012 because before she was Fed chair might have been the right one at the time, but evidence suggests the rate